2.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store and in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. What happened? Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. By the way, you know, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. All men and women created by you know the thing. What am I doing here? True international effort to pressure. Come on, man. Get a life.
The president's excited to be celebrating his birthday, but I'm curious, David Axelrod told the New York Times, quote, Biden thinks he can cheat nature here and it's really risky. A, what's the president's response to David Axelrod? Does he respect his opinion? Does he think he's right? But also, I mean, is there a real alarm happening behind the scenes that the president is simply too old to stake around for another 4 years?
No, there's no alarm happening behind the scenes. Not there. I can only speak behind the scenes here. There's no alarm happening behind the scenes, and I'm certainly not going to comment on everybody who has something to say. I didn't say that. I didn't. Nowhere in my response to you that I said that. I said I'm just not going to comment on everyone that has a comment to say. They're going to speak for themselves. I'm going to speak for the president, and here what I'll say is, look. And also, it's just not my job. It's not my job to think through or to tell people what to think, right? Whether it's the American people out there or a political analyst or as your question is about David Axelrod. It's just not my place to speak to that. What I can speak to is how we see this, what our perspective is. Our perspective is that it's not about age. It's about the president's experience. That's what we believe. And it's, as they say, the proof is in the pudding, right? The president has used his experience to pass more bipartisan legislation in recent time than any other president. That's just a fact. That is something that we have seen this president do, and that's because of his experience. He's been able to manage multiple foreign policy challenges. What we say is we have to judge him by what he's done.
Question. Is Joseph Biden okay? Is he okay? I have been watching his most recent press conferences and as he's been speaking, preparing for primaries, and he does not seem cognitively there for me. I know he's older. I know his gait is naturally a little slower, but when he speaks, it literally sounds like everything is, yes, rehearsed, but very rehearsed.
Last
and
year.
It's like,
excuse me. I saw him last year.
What's coming next? It's like his speed is on times 0.25 when the rest of us are doubling the speed when we're watching videos. Anybody else notice that?
The president proves every day how he operates, how he thinks, right? By dealing with world leaders, by making really difficult decisions on behalf of the American people, whether it's domestic, whether it's national security. And so he shows it every day on how he thinks, how he operates, and so that is how Dr. O'Connor sees it, and that's how we believe it.
Taking that kind of a test.
I mean, look, and I talked about this last week too on I believe on Friday. I have known this president since 2009. He is not just my boss. He's also a mentor to me, and I spent sometimes countless hours with him, whether it's in the Oval Office, whether it's on the road. And I believe, for me, you're asking me my personal opinion, he is sharp. He is on top of things. When we have meetings with him, with his staff, he's constantly pushing us, trying to get more information. And so that has been my experience with this president. Anything else outside of that, I just shared with you what Dr. O'Connor said to me, and so I'll just leave it there.
And the next day they sent someone out to survey her yard. As Beth wrote, this is the best thing that's happened to rural America since the Rural Electrification Act brought electricity to farms in the 30s and 40s. End of quote.
I'm
sorry, not sorry, but can we please talk about what is and what's not going on with President Joe Biden? If you don't know, now you know.
A poll released this morning by Politico Morning Consult found 49% of registered voters disagreeing with the statement, Joe Biden is mentally fit. Not even a majority of Democrats who responded strongly affirmed that statement.
I'll let you all make the judgment whether they're correct.
Well, so the question I have for you, sir, if you'd let me finish, is why do you suppose such large segments of the American electorate have come to harbor such profound concerns about your cognitive fitness? Thank you.
I have no idea. Yes, sir. You always ask me the nicest questions. I know you do.
All right.
None of them make a lot of sense to me, but
Well, let's try.
Fire away. Come on.
A new year. Why are you trying so hard in your first year to pull the country so far to the left?
Well, I'm not. I don't know what you consider to be too far to the left. If in fact we're talking about making sure that we had the money for COVID, making sure we had the money to put together the bipartisan infrastructure, making sure we were able to provide for those things that in fact will significantly reduce the burden on working class people, but make them have to continue to work hard. I don't know how that is pointed to the left. If you may recall, you guys have been trying to convince me that I am Bernie Sanders. I'm not. I like him, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. I'm a mainstream Democrat, and I have been. And mainstream Democrats have overwhelmed me. If you notice, the 48 of the 50 Democrats supported me in the Senate on virtually everything I've asked.
Joe Biden don't want us to know what's going on with him physically, mentally, health-wise, or anything else. So in the same vein, Jill Biden came out and said that testing the president's mental fitness is absolutely ridiculous. Is it ridiculous when you did it to Trump? Is it ridiculous when you ask for it when you don't like somebody, but when you're on somebody's side that you don't want to hear it? You don't want to know what their mental fitness is? And by the way, the phrase mental fitness sucks. Like, you don't got it. If you're using that term, you ain't got it. But that's the news. Joe Biden is probably not mentally or physically fit to be president, but
Go down that rabbit hole with you.
By being 110 and doing it again. I know I look like I'm only still 29. I'm a little under 103. I know I'm 198 years old. I've been doing this a long time.
I love, Republicans saying it's Biden's gas pipeline. Biden said. Eric, what I didn't realize, and I've been around, I know I don't look like it, but I've been around a while. I do remember that. In case you're wondering, I've been saying this for the last 400 years I've been in office. Think about that. No president added more to the debt in 4 years than my president. I misspoke. And they're all important. And we ought to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. You know that old expression. Thank you. Thank you. After all, I believe in the First Amendment. Not just because my good friend Jimmy Madison wrote it. You say I'm ancient. I say I'm wise. I get it. The beer brewed here, it is used to make the brew beer in this refinery. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. I wonder why it's called. Bless me, Father, for your sin. I tell you.
There has been criticism.
Man. You can come to my office and ask the question and have more polite people. right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. I was in the south of England, and I sat down and I said, "America's back." And Mitterrand from from France, looked at me and said, "You know, why? How long are you back for?" And I looked at him, and the Chancellor of Germany said, "What would you say, Mr. President?" He picked up the paper tomorrow in the London Times. And the London Times said, 1,000 people break through the House of Commons, break down the doors, 2 bobbies are killed.
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
What would you say? I never thought about it from that perspective. What would we say if that happened in another democracy around the world? And the whole world watched. The whole world watched. I know there's some attention paid to some language in the report about my recollection of events. There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, wasn't any of their damn business. I'm of the view, as you know, that the conduct of the response
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
In the Gaza Strip has been over the top. I think that, as you know, initially the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate. I talked to Bibi to open the gate on the Israeli side.
President Biden, something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I'm the president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
Can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad I let you speak. That's
Gotten worse, Mr. President.
My memory is not good. My memory is fine.
Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They expressed concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question? Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be President of the United States and finish the job I started. Today, I applaud China for stepping up. I applaud Canada. You can tell what I'm thinking. I mean, no, really, think about it. Think about it. I know I'm 198 years old. But all kidding aside, think about it.
Wow. Wow. What's more? Wow. Choose my words. There's some movement. There's been a response from the...
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
There's been a response from the opposition. But
Yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas. But it seems to be a little over the top. We're not sure where it is. There's a continuing negotiation right now. And I want you to know it's a big deal. The Havenaqua May, I'm having trouble. Thank you. I got it.
This was one of his most particular joys as vice president, and as you all know, he is quite exuberant in that joy, and I now have caught the bug.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway. From Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa. Of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put the idea that
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. One, we haven't been able to communicate it in a way that is, let me say another way. But the nature, not a solid meeting with they make a very good point. Here's the deal. Here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected. Here's what you can do, the drivers. We want to expand pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds, millions of pre-K.
We did it, Joe.